Good morning. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word. I'm Barry Bryson, and we're continuing our study of Peter's life, and we're going to be in Luke 22, verses 31 through 34 today. This is where Jesus, on the night that he was betrayed, on the night they had the Last Supper, on the night they went to the Garden of Gethsemane, tells Peter that he is going to betray him that very night. In Matthew and Mark's account, in Matthew 26 and in Mark 14, Peter, this exchange is prompted by Peter saying to Jesus, I will follow you everywhere. I'll follow you to death. And that is prompted by Jesus saying, tonight you're going to be scattered like sheep, all of you. You're all going to run away from me. All of you are. And Peter protests. He's the one, again, he's spoken up to object to Jesus when Jesus washed their feet. And now later when Jesus said, you're all going to flee, Peter said, no, we're not. I'm not. I'll go die with you. He believed that. And he meant that. What he meant was, I'm going to go down fighting, which we'll see in a little bit when we get with him in the Garden of Gethsemane. But Jesus then tells him, no, you're not. You are going to deny me 3 times before the cock crows in the morning. And I wanted us to look at Luke's version of this account, and then in a couple of sessions, Luke's version of Peter's denial, because they connect to each other. The way Jesus and Peter's eyes connect to each other when the actual betrayal happens. So, Luke 22, verse 31, Jesus says to Peter, and he doesn't call him Peter, and I think that's significant. Simon, Simon, behold, Satan has demanded to sift you like wheat, but I prayed for you that your faith may not fail. And when once again you have returned, strengthen your brothers. And he said to him, Lord, I'm ready to go both to prison and to death with you. And that's different than what he says in Matthew and Mark. And Jesus said, I tell you, Peter, the cock will not crow today until you have denied 3 times that you know me. Is this a separate moment, maybe a follow-up moment, a personal moment to what we have recorded in Mark and Matthew? I'm not sure. But in Mark and Matthew, he's ready to die with him, to go down fighting. Here he's ready to go to jail, and he's ready to be executed with Jesus. But he's not, as events will bear out. Why doesn't Jesus call him Peter? Why does he call him Simon? I think because in the moment he's not Peter. He's not the rock. And I think because he has a choice to make. He has another choice to make. In fact, Jesus is going to have to call him all over again, which we will see in a few sessions in John 21. Jesus will call him all over again, and he'll make a second decision to leave his boat and to follow Jesus. And so I think there's so much contained in the fact that Jesus calls him Simon, and calls him Simon twice. Calls him Simon twice. Jesus does that sometimes. Luke is good to record that. Martha, Martha, you're worried about so many things. Simon, Simon. It seemed like an expression of affection when Jesus does this. And he's just so honest with him. Satan has asked the Father to sift you like wheat, to put you through it. And Jesus doesn't say whether that permission was granted or not granted, or granted with stipulations, or what the boundaries were on what Satan was going to be allowed to do to him. But we have here what Paul tells us in 1 Corinthians, that God personally manages the weight of temptation Satan is allowed to bring to bear in our lives. And he's asked to really smite Peter the way he asked to smite Job. And Peter is going to be put through it. And of course he's going to do it because of his own decisions, because of his own fear, because of his own confusion, his own disappointment, his own stuff that happens in the wake of the Garden of Gethsemane. But to me, the most important thing in these short verses is Jesus says, I have prayed for you. And then he tells him what he prayed. I pray that your faith may not fail. And then, not just because he wants to give him confidence, but he does, but because he knows how things are going to turn out. He doesn't say if you return. He says when. When you have once returned, strengthen your brothers. It's just going to be awful. But I know you'll come back to me. And I know you're going to be strong enough to strengthen other people when you do. And you'll get to be the rock again. But you're not the rock right now. And Peter can't believe it. I'll go to jail with you. I'll go to the cross with you. Well, he will one day. But not that night. And Jesus says, no, you're not. Not tonight. You're going to deny me 3 times. We'll talk about that denial in a few days. We're going to go to the garden with him next. Thank you for joining me. Another 5 good minutes with the Word.